Okay, so you think you know what your DNA is made of, right? A, T, C, G, the building blocks of life. But what if there's another layer to our genetic code? One that's written not just in biology, but in the universal language of mathematics. Today, we're diving into a really provocative paper that claims to have found exactly that.
So, the big idea here, the one we're really going to unpack, is this. Could there be some kind of hidden mathematical order, a secret language tucked away inside the very code that makes us, well, us, like something that's running the show from behind the scenes? I mean, it's a pretty wild thought, isn't it? But a 2017 paper by a researcher named Jean-Claude Perez, well, he argues the answer is a big yes. And he says the key to unlocking it all is hiding in a really specific part of our cells. So, where do you even start looking for a code like this? Well, the paper zooms right in on our mitochondrial DNA, or mtDNA for short. Now, you probably remember this from high school biology, right? It's that small, circular genome inside the powerhouses of our cells. And the really important thing to know is that it's passed down only from your mother. That makes it this incredible tool for tracking our history and evolution. All right, so how in the world do you even start looking for a mathematical pattern inside a long string of genetic code? It sounds kind of impossible. But the author of this paper had a very specific idea, and he turned to one of the most famous number sequences in all of history to do it. Yup, the Fibonacci sequence. You know this one. It's that amazing pattern you see just about everywhere in nature, in the way trees branch out, the spiral of a seashell, even the petals on a flower. And the wild proposal in this paper is that this exact same sequence could be the key to understanding the deep structure of our own mitochondrial DNA. Okay, so how does this actually work? The method is pretty clever. Just imagine you're scanning along that circular loop of mtDNA. First, you measure out a specific length, and that length has to be a Fibonacci number. Then, within that chunk of DNA, you count up two of the genetic letters, C and A. And here's the magic part. If the number you get is exactly the Fibonacci number right before the one you started with, boom. The author calls that a Fibonacci resonance. It's kind of like finding a perfect mathematical chord ringing out from our own genetic code. Now, I know what you might be thinking. This could all just be a cool numbers game, a coincidence, right? But this is where the paper takes a really crucial next step. It starts applying this exact same method to mitochondrial DNA that has mutations linked to human diseases. And this is where we get to the paper's most explosive claim. The analysis suggests that when you look at hundreds of different disease-linked mutations, their effect isn't random at all, at least not mathematically. They seem to change the number of these Fibonacci resonances in a way that is just shockingly predictable. So, take a look at this. It really shows you exactly what we're talking about. That blue line, that's the healthy reference DNA. The orange line, that's what happens when a mutation pops up. See on the left? For the shorter lengths, the number of resonances almost always shoots up. But then look over on the right. For the longer ones, the number consistently drops down. It's this perfect, striking opposition. And if that visual wasn't enough, this summary data from 100 different mutations really drives it home. Just look at this. For the two shorter resonance lengths, 100% of the time, the mutation either increased the number or kept it the same. Not a single one caused a decrease. But for that longest resonance length, the script totally flips. The majority of mutations cause a decrease. It's that incredible consistency that makes the author argue, hey, this can't just be a coincidence. Okay, so if these mathematical patterns change with disease, that leads to a pretty obvious next question, right? Do they also change over vast stretches of evolutionary time? So the paper widens its lens and starts comparing our own mTNA to that of our ancient relatives. All right, so this chart might look a little complex at first glance, but it's super interesting. It's mapping out those Fibonacci resonances for a bunch of different hominids, us, sapiens, but also Neanderthals, Denisovans, and even chimpanzees. Each colored line is tracking the number of resonances they have, but I want you to focus on just one line. See that blue line? That's us, Homo sapiens. And look at that enormous spike all the way over on the right. What that's showing is that modern humans have a massive number of these super long resonances, way more than any of our ancient relatives. The paper actually proposes that this could be a unique mathematical signature, something that really sets our species apart. So just when you think, okay, it's all about Fibonacci, the paper throws in one last, absolutely fascinating twist. It turns out there's another famous mathematical sequence at play here, and it seems to have the exact opposite effect. Say hello to the Lucas numbers. Now, these are basically the Fibonacci sequence's sibling. They're built in the exact same way. You just add the two previous numbers to get the next one, but they start with different numbers. So naturally, the next question is, what happens when you run the whole analysis again, but this time you're looking for Lucas resonances in that same mutated DNA? And the results? It's a perfect mirror image. It's almost unbelievable. This chart lays it out perfectly. Everywhere that mutations made the short Fibonacci resonances go up, they made the short Lucas resonances go down. And where the long Fibonacci ones went down, the long Lucas ones went up. It's this perfect push and pull diametrically opposed relationship. The author himself calls this an undulatory nature, which is a fancy way of saying it's like a wave. The idea is that you've got these two opposing mathematical forces, Fibonacci and Lucas, creating this kind of push and pull system, almost like alternating windows of sensitivity that are secretly shaping how our genome works. And all of this leaves us with a final, kind of mind-bending question. Now, we have to be clear. This research is definitely provocative, and it's not exactly mainstream science, at least not yet. But it asks us to entertain a pretty radical idea. What if our genome isn't just a biological code? What if it's also a mathematical one, governed by these invisible waves that we're only just now starting to see? A hidden layer of pure order, written in the universal language of numbers.